We're going to move on to Jackson Cullinane. Jackson is one of the participants in the Just Transition Partnership, I think from the very beginning, as a leader at the STUC, as well as within Unite. He's the political officer of Unite Scotland. And Jackson's going to take us into this, contribute to this final session. Jackson, thanks for being here. Nice to see you, comrade.
Stephen, thank you. Stephen, my apologies. I'm not working to a script here. I deliberately, didn't write one because I wanted to just see how the discussion and debate was going, and given that it is this sort of closing session, maybe make some observations. And the first observation I have is how this has been an extremely valuable event for trying to bring together people to look for common cause and arising for that, hopefully, common action. And I say that because I think we have to admit that there have been and remain some fault lines between the trade union movement and the environmental movement. Ros spoke in her opening remarks about the need for the trade union movement to become more green and for the environmental movement to become more red. And I couldn't agree more. And I think we need to identify what that common ground is, because there are differences. The workers in Scotland, certainly, loads of them are very cynical about the green agenda because of the experience of BIFAB, because of the failure of the Scottish Government to deliver the promises on the numbers of renewable jobs. We have a debate about licensing currently for oil in the North Sea, which has created some alarm among some workers in the absence of a just transition plan, who are understandably saying, well, what happens to us if these things don't go ahead? And that is happening when we're getting reports, as we did this week, from Rolls-Royce and the survey done of 700 redundancies of last year, which shows that none of those who were retrained to get jobs in renewables have got those jobs. Lots of them have no jobs at all. And those who have got jobs have experienced, 85% of them have experienced a drop in income. 65% of them having experienced a drop in income in excess of £10,000 a year. So all of that doesn't give people confidence. But today, we have identified areas where there should be common cause and buy-in from trade unionists on the ground. And I'll come back to that in a second and what I mean by on the ground, into this agenda. We've spoken about, and I've just out of the workshop, which was dedicated to municipal ownership and transport, essentially in buses, which would benefit the environment by reducing emissions for private car use, benefit communities who have been denied a bus service, and benefit the workforce who have been asked to work excessive hours, and have been held to ransom by these big bus companies. We've spoken about retrofit and insulation programs that would put construction workers back to work, as well as addressing issues such as fuel poverty. I think we need to drill down a bit of deep organising here and connect to workers on the ground on the collective bargaining and trade union organising agenda. That's a long-standing demand of the trade union movement. Indeed, May Day, the most important day perhaps internationally in a workers' calendar, was founded on the basis of campaigning for the shorter working week. We now have in Scotland this week discussions about the potential pilot of a 4-day working week. So there's a chance here, because that would again help to reduce emissions, to tie in the green agenda to an absolute collective bargaining, long-standing collective bargaining demand of the trade union movement. And we also have, in terms of workplace organising, much more of an emphasis on the building of combines, the notion of industrial democracy, the empowering of workers on the ground to come up with their idea of how work should be performed. And that, I think, is where the key to just transition lies. Because for me, there can be no just transition unless it's a worker-led transition. There can be no just transition which is imposed upon a workforce. It needs to be supported by them, and it will only be supported by them if it protects jobs and protects terms and conditions and protects trade union activity. So there are grounds here for commonality and for us to buy in to the trade union agenda and for the trade union agenda to buy into the environmental agenda. But it needs to, I would suggest, very useful event, but all of us, probably without exception, are political activists, trade union officials, environmental campaigners. You know, we're already active. We need to, as part of organising, draw people into activity on this agenda at shop floor, to use an old term, level, if we are going to deliver in terms of just transition. And I spoke about fault lines at the beginning. The fault lines, I think, between us and certainly in the UK government are becoming clearer. I don't know if anybody picked up, but a couple of weeks ago, the UK government issued a report which essentially said the free market will solve the just transition or the climate change issue. That environmental products, green products, etc., will become cheaper and the market will solve the crisis. Absolute balderdash and completely at odds with everything we've been talking about today. Because we recognise there's a need for intervention, for regulation, for planning, for coordination, and for new forms of ownership. And that creates a fault line between all of us, irrespective of whether your personal politics are red, green, yellow, or blue, between us and what the narrative being developed by the UK government leading into COP26 is. So Ros made her remarks about trade unionists becoming green, environmental movement becoming red. Somebody made a remark that our slogan should be "Workers of the World Unite." I've got an even simpler and older trade union slogan, possibly, and that's "Unity is Strength." And I think that should be our slogan moving on from today's event, because I've personally found it very worthwhile to hear a different range of opinions, sometimes differences, but done in a comradely, positive manner, and most importantly, identifying areas of common ground and moving forward, which should be common activity. So thanks for your time, Stephen. Thanks for everyone for listening.